My new book, All the King's Men, tells the extraordinary 150-year story of the British soldier from the start of the modern professional army at the Restoration in 1660 to his finest hour at Waterloo in 1815. It charts nothing less than the history of Britain's rise to greatness through the prism of battle, told through the lives of the generals, men like Wellington and Marlborough, but never neglecting the crucial role played by the ordinary British soldier in winning no fewer than 3 great conflicts against Britain's perennial enemy France: the War of Spanish Succession, the 7 Years' War, and the Napoleonic Wars. I chose this period partly because I don't know that much about it, and I'm not alone. What's interesting about popular history is it tends to jump from the Tudors and Stuarts right the way to the 19th century. And what this leaves out is a period known to historians as the long 18th century, a period during which the foundations of the British Empire were laid. The highlights of the book have to be the 3 great battlefield victories by Marlborough at Blenheim, by Wolfe at Quebec, and also by Wellington at Waterloo. And yet this book is as much about the ordinary soldiers as it is about the generals. I deliberately set out when I wrote it to find diarists and letter writers from ordinary soldiers. Now these are hard to find because many of these men during this period were illiterate, but fortunately a few survive, and I suppose the most significant probably is that written by John Dean of the 1st Foot Guards, who left the only account of the Marlboroughan Wars by a private. Well, the ordinary soldiers came from the very lowest echelons of society, and they only joined up because they had to out of economic desperation. They were pretty harshly treated, harsh discipline and poor pay, and yet they became, during this period from the Marlboroughan Wars onwards, the finest soldiers in Europe. The book is as much a social history of the ordinary soldier as it is about the great deeds that they achieve in wartime. And so we follow them, their lives, who they were, where they came from, and what they got up to, both in peacetime and at war. But we also look at the lives of their families, and by that I mean both women and children who followed their men to war, were on the ration strength of the units in some cases, and were witness to some of the goriest events and shared in their hardships, so that they not only saw the battles, in some cases looted the dead, but also occasionally became casualties themselves. If I could have been present at just one battle during this period, it would have to be Waterloo. I mean, just think about it. A battlefield of just 2 square miles within which 200,000 men fought. A ridge on both sides from which the commanders had a bird's eye view of the battle, and then down below the most extraordinary sights, smells and sounds. Last-ditch stands, cavalry charges, infantry in squares, and then to top it all, that last desperate and failed attack by the Imperial Guard. It had it all.